What if the ghost haunting your house was the child you killed to save from slavery? A mother's love so fierce it crossed the line between life and death. Sethe ran from slavery, but the past didn't let her go. It came back, knocking. It came back, calling itself beloved. This is not just a ghost story. This is a story of memory, trauma, and what it truly means to be free. Stay with us as we unravel Toni Morrison's masterpiece, one phase at a time. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to BookPodCastZone. I'm Emma.
And I'm John.
Okay, so today we are diving deep, really deep. We're getting into Toni Morrison's incredible Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, Beloved. And look, this isn't just about, reading a book, though. That's obviously important. It's really about trying to understand the profound depths of it all, the history behind it, the psychological weight.
Yeah, the impact on people, on generations even.
Exactly. And how relevant it still feels today.
Yeah.
Its take on human endurance, on what it means to survive. We're really going to try and unpack the layers that make this book so powerful, unforgettable, really.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, beyond just the story itself, is how Morrison pulls off this incredible feat. She takes this intensely personal trauma. I mean, the unspeakable things people went through under slavery, and she somehow elevates it, makes it a collective thing, right?
Yeah.
A shared experience, almost like a national wound that just lingers.
Yeah, it really feels that way.
So yeah, we'll be pulling apart the narrative, looking at the structure, the big turning points, the themes, trying to find those really important nuggets, the insights you might kind of miss if you just read it through once quickly.
Right.
And it forces us, I think, to ask this really fundamental question. How do we actually deal with that kind of past? As individuals, sure, but also like as a whole society. How do you confront a past that just refuses to stay buried? And for the characters in Beloved, I mean, this isn't some abstract idea, is it? It's their terrifying everyday reality.
That's such a crucial point, yeah. So our mission with this deep dive is really to guide you through the raw power of Sethe's story, to show how memory and history are just so tangled up together.
They're completely intertwined.
And what does it actually mean to be free? Or, haunted, profoundly haunted by your past. You've shared your sources, and we're really aiming to pull out those surprising facts, those connections, those moments that just make you go, aha.
Yeah, those light bulb moments.
Exactly. Show how Morrison blends the brutal historical facts with these, ghostly supernatural elements. You create something that just sticks with you. It's unsettling long after you put the book down. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. We open at 124 Bluestone Road. Right away, this place, it doesn't feel like a home. It feels more like an open wound almost.
That's a good way to put it.
Morrison hits us immediately with that phrase, right? A house full of a baby's venom.
Chilling, instantly chilling.
Yeah, and it's not just, pretty language. It plunges you straight into this atmosphere that's just thick with grief. There's this oppressive, malevolent weight to the place.
You feel it.
You really do. And this is where we find Sethe and her daughter who survived, Denver, just trying to exist day to day in this space that is actively plagued by this vengeful spirit. The walls, the air itself. It feels like it's breathing pain, resentment, making normal life just a constant battle against something unseen. But here's where it gets really interesting. The nature of this haunting, right?
It's not random.
Not at all. It's not some, generic ghost story poltergeist. It's the direct, agonizing result of Sethe's impossible act, what Morrison calls that thick love.
That phrase.
That act of infanticide committed in just sheer desperation. A last-ditch attempt to save her child from being dragged back into the horrors of slavery.
Unimaginable.
Morrison just forces you to grapple with that terrifying paradox. That love itself, pushed to such an extreme by this inhumane system, could become the source of your deepest torment.
Right. The thing meant to save becomes the haunting.
Precisely. And the ghost, whose tombstone just has that one word, beloved. She's not just a lost child. She's the embodiment of trauma's hunger, demanding to be fed by Sethe's life.
Yeah, it's consuming.
That single word, beloved, carved so simply, it sets up the whole mystery, doesn't it? That profound, aching connection to the title. It pulls you right into the unsettling heart of the story.
It really does. And that phrase, a baby's venom.
Yeah.
Wow. It tells you immediately, like you said, this isn't some gentle spirit. This is born of pain, deep pain and a desperate act.
Yeah.
And the house, 124, it really is more than just a setting, isn't it? It becomes like a character itself. It's the physical manifestation of all that unexpressed grief, the lingering pain from slavery's legacy.
It holds everything.
It holds everything. The memories, the unspoken suffering, it's all trapped in those walls. And Morrison introduces this idea right away, this concept of rememory, which is, well, it's way more than just remembering something, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's not like looking at an old photo.
No, not at all. For Sethe, rememory means the past isn't back there, behind her in a neat line. It's like a physical place, an atmosphere she can literally walk into again.
Wow.
It's as if the trauma from Sweet Home isn't just recalled, it's experienced, like it's happening right now in the present. And it shapes everything about her reality.
So she feels it physically.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
We see her struggling with the physical feelings of past pain, like she feels the bit in her mouth again, or the scars on her back, that tree, they called it. She feels it burning, as if school teachers right there in 1873 Ohio doing it again.
That's intense.
It is. The past isn't behind her, it's all around her, constantly intruding, suffocating her.
And this is happening, like you said, in post-Civil War Ohio, around 1873.
Right. And that historical backdrop is absolutely crucial. I mean, legally, slavery is over. But that transition to freedom, it was anything but simple or safe for formerly enslaved people.
And no easy path.
Not at all. They were still, as the source material puts it, shackled by memories of brutality, but also by very real dangers in their supposed freedom.
Like what specifically?
Well, the big one hanging over everything was the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. Even though the war was over, this law, its shadow was long. It was a federal law, terrifyingly effective, ruthlessly enforced for years.
Even in the North, in a free state like Ohio.
Absolutely. It gave slave owners the legal right to recapture escaped people, even if they'd made it to so-called free soil. Imagine living with that constant gnawing fear.
Just never feeling safe.
Never. After risking everything, enduring horrors, the threat of being dragged back could follow you anywhere. Bounty hunters, the slave catchers were active. Free states were still treacherous places.
Wow.
That pervasive threat, that constant possibility of violent recapture, it's fundamental to understanding Sethe's anxiety, her desperation, why she made those unthinkable choices. It really highlights just how fragile Black freedom was, even after emancipation.
And Morrison's writing her craft in just these opening pages, it's phenomenal, isn't it?
Oh, it's masterful.
She sets up this chilling, eerie mood immediately, but it's not like cheap horror movie stuff.
No, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's this subtle, creeping dread woven right into the language. Think about that very first line. 124 was spiteful.
Right. Giving the house itself this malevolent personality. It tells you straight off, this isn't just background. This place is alive, haunted, actively involved in the suffering.
Yeah. Or those descriptions of the inside of 124, that clogged, wet, tight feeling Denver has inside her. It perfectly mirrors that emotional suffocation, the physical constriction of trauma.
It's visceral.
And the dialogue is so sparse, but so impactful. Like Denver just saying, it's cold even when it's warm outside. It's not just a casual line, is it?
No, it's loaded.
It's like these carefully chosen brushstrokes that just immerse you instantly in 124's oppressive, cold atmosphere. You feel the weight of its history.
And that ties right into her use of nonlinear storytelling, which is so key to getting inside Sethe's head, right?
Definitely. It's not straightforward.
No, she doesn't just give you the backstory in order A, then B, then C. Instead, she drops these little hints, these fragments, cryptic clues about Sethe's past at Sweet Home.
Sweet Home. Yeah, the name itself is just brutal irony.
Exactly. Because you quickly realize its surface beauty hid just unspeakable horrors, unimaginable cruelty. This technique, revealing the past slowly, bit by bit, it pulls you into the mystery of the ghost, lets you feel the weight of Sethe's isolation, her trauma.
It makes you experience it with her, almost.
Precisely. It makes the past feel like a palpable psychological reality for you, the reader, mirroring how fragmented and overwhelming it is for Sethe herself. It's genius, really.
So, thinking about this, using a literal ghost, beloved, to represent something as huge and systemic as the trauma of slavery, does that work? Is there a risk it feels, I don't know, too abstract, or maybe even too melodramatic for such a heavy historical truth?
That's a really sharp question.
Yeah.
And I think Morrison walks that tightrope incredibly well. Some might initially think, okay, supernatural stuff, that takes away from the realism.
Right.
But here, I actually think it functions as a kind of radical realism.
Yeah.
The ghost isn't an escape from history. It's this terrifying physical embodiment of how history just won't let go.
It makes the invisible wounds visible.
Exactly. It forces you to see that historical pain isn't just a metaphor. It can exert a literal consuming force on the present. It physically and emotionally drains the characters, just like Beloved literally drains Sethe.
Wow.
It gives that intangible psychological trauma, that generational trauma, a physical form that you have to confront. It makes you grapple with that idea that, the past isn't dead. It's not even past. It's right here, living, breathing, haunting.
That's so true when you really think about it. How does a traumatic past ripple through time, affect the present, even generations later? It's not just a question for Sethe in Denver, is it? Morrison makes you feel it personally.
Yeah, deep in your bones.
She forces us to think about how these historical echoes keep resonating, shaping lives in ways we might not even see. The ghost isn't just Sethe's personal tragedy. She's a symbol, isn't she, for all the unquiet dead of slavery.
The millions.
Demanding recognition, demanding to be remembered, understood, not just disremembered and swept under the rug.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we move on, just a quick reminder. If you're finding this deep dive insightful, please do remember to hit like, subscribe, and maybe share it with someone else who loves digging into books like this. It really helps us keep these conversations going.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the support.
All right, we're just getting started. More to come. Okay, so moving into the next kind of phase here. A really pivotal moment happens at 124, something that really shakes the foundations of the house, literally and figuratively.
Paul D arrives.
Paul Dia. Yeah. He's not just some random visitor, is he? He's a fellow survivor from Sweet Home.
A direct link to that past.
A living, breathing connection to everything Sethe has been trying so hard, and mostly failing, to suppress. And his arrival, it causes this immediate, almost miraculous shift in the house's atmosphere.
You feel the air change.
Totally. That malevolent, heavy spirit that's been choking Sethe and Denver for years, it seems to just vanish, at least temporarily. He literally chases it out. The air clears.
A breath of fresh air, almost literally.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because Paul D brings warmth, right? A desperately needed sense of relief, of human connection, but at the same time, his presence inevitably forces Sethe to confront those horrifying memories.
Oh, and she's walled off.
Exactly, the one she's tried so hard to bury. So it's this profound double-edged sword, isn't it? The promise of comfort, maybe even love, but also the unavoidable pain of the past rushing back.
Absolutely, and Paul D's arrival, just his existence as a survivor, really embodies some critical themes for Morrison here. He represents that possibility of community, of connection. Things that were systematically destroyed by slavery.
Things they desperately need.
Desperately. And his character digs deep into that struggle to reclaim your identity, your personhood, right? To figure out who you are after the dehumanizing horror of the plantation.
Rebuilding a self.
Rebuilding a self. And for both Sethe and Paul D, that shared past at Sweet Home, as horrific as it was, creates this instant visceral bond. It's painful, sure, but it also allows for a different kind of healing to maybe begin.
Because they understand each other.
Yeah, rooted in recognition, shared understanding, a deep empathy for what the other went through. He's like a mirror, reflecting a shared terrible truth, but also proving survival is possible.
And his journey, the fact that he's been wandering for so long, connects to bigger historical things too, right?
Definitely. Paul D's constant movement, his searching, it mirrors a huge historical process. The Great Migration.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Well, it wasn't just one single event, but this long period starting really in the late 19th century and going well into the 20th, where millions of African Americans like Paul D bravely moved from the rural South.
Where were they going?
To the urban North, the Midwest, the West. They were searching for belonging, for stable lives, for a measure of freedom, dignity, economic opportunity that was just systematically denied them in the South, even after the war.
So Paul D's wandering reflects that larger search.
Exactly. His travels across the country, looking for a place to finally settle, to find peace. It echoes that widespread communal search for autonomy, for a better life among formerly enslaved people and their children.
And the things he endured, that he remembers. The brutality at Sweet Home.
That wasn't just made up for the novel. It mirrors the horrific realities on countless actual plantations. Enslaved people faced unimaginable abuse, physical, psychological, families torn apart, forced into just brutal conditions.
Like the stories you hear in slave narratives.
Precisely. Morrison is drawing directly on that tradition. Think about figures like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Jacobs. Yeah. Their narratives were absolutely vital in exposing the true horrors of slavery to the world.
Giving voice to the voiceless.
Exactly. They documented the dehumanization, the violence, the trauma. Morrison carries that torch forward in fiction, giving incredibly powerful voice to those experiences.
And what's really striking, when Paul D arrives in the book, you feel that shift immediately, don't you?
Oh, instantly. The narrative energy changes.
Yeah, the moment he walks into 124, you could almost feel the air getting lighter. That heavy spectral chill seems to lift just for a moment. It's brilliant how Morrison uses his physical presence, his warmth, that gravelly voice, even just the sound of him breathing as this counterpoint to the ghost.
A human presence against the spectral.
Yeah, it makes his arrival feel like this actual lifeline for Sethe and Denver, a connection to the real world outside their haunted house. You feel this huge, fragile hope bloom instantly, like maybe, just maybe, life could start again.
But that fragility is so key, isn't it? Because Morrison then masterfully weaves Paul D's fragmented memories together with Sethe's.
It's not simple reminiscing.
Not at all. It's not just them telling their stories separately. It's this complex, incredibly painful tapestry of shared trauma that they start to piece together, slowly, carefully.
Filling in the blanks for each other.
Yeah, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes with real agony, but they create this more complete, more horrifying, but ultimately maybe validating picture of what they both endured at Sweet Home.
It must be terrifying, but also necessary.
Absolutely necessary. And the pacing in this part of the book feels very deliberate, often kind of circular. You really feel that tension, that push and pull between the hope Paul D brings and the enduring pain of the past that he inevitably brings up.
It's like a slow thawing, maybe, but painful.
Yeah, a slow, agonizing process of remembering, of confronting that shared history. But it's essential if any real healing is ever going to happen. You can't heal what you don't confront, right? It just stays there, consuming you.
No. Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Paul D, he's not just a catalyst for Sethe's memory. He's his own person, carrying his own immense trauma. How does Morrison use him to explore things like masculinity, survival for black men after slavery?
That's a great point. He's been through hell.
The iron bits in his mouth, the chain gangs, unspeakable things. But he's also this man trying to find his footing, trying to define himself outside of that system that tried to strip everything away, redefining manhood itself.
Right. He carries those scars, deep scars, but also this incredible resilience, this drive to keep moving, keep seeking. That suggests a path forward, however difficult.
So what does this character show us about coping mechanisms, maybe?
Well, he provides this crucial insight into the varied ways people tried to cope, tried to rebuild. He endured the unimaginable, yet he keeps seeking connection, keeps trying to build a future, even with that tobacco tin, where his heart used to be that metaphor for his emotional self-protection.
He's afraid to feel too much.
Deeply afraid. But he still tries. And his presence really encourages you, the listener, to think about the power of human connection, even when you've suffered so much, how vital it is for healing.
It's not a solo journey.
No. What's so fascinating here is how Paul D's presence drives home that healing rarely happens in isolation. It often needs acknowledgement, validation, that shared understanding that can sometimes only come from someone who's walked a similar path.
Someone who gets it.
Someone who truly gets it. His connection with Sethe, however fraught and painful it becomes, is this raw testament to the human need for intimacy, for shared truth, for solidarity against the unspeakable. It's about finding echoes of your own pain in someone else, and maybe in that shared space, finding a tiny spark of hope.
It makes you think, doesn't it, about the power of shared experience in our own lives. How talking to someone who understands, or just being part of a community that gets it, how much that helps navigate tough times.
Absolutely. It's universal.
Morrison shows us that even after the most profound attempts to dehumanize people, that longing for connection, for someone to just witness your truth, to really see you, it remains incredibly strong. It's essential, really, for survival, for healing.
It's a reminder that even spirits that feel completely broken can start to mend when there's genuine connection.
Okay, another quick pause here. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're connecting with this. Subscribe for more and share it around. We'll be right back with the next massive shift at 124, a moment that changes absolutely everything.
Yeah, things are about to get even more intense.
All right, now we get to, maybe the most mysterious, most unsettling, and ultimately the most haunting turning point in the whole novel.
The arrival of Beloved herself.
Yeah, this young woman, she just appears almost out of the water, right? At 124 Bluestone Road. Seems maybe late teens, early 20s.
Very ambiguous beginning.
Totally. She shows up disoriented, desperately thirsty, with this profound, almost childlike neediness. But it becomes clear pretty quickly and chillingly that she somehow embodies the ghost of Sethe's lost baby, the one whose spirit haunted the house.
The venomous baby ghost made flesh.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. How Morrison uses Beloved's appearance. It becomes this exploration of the destructive, the absolutely insatiable power of unresolved grief.
It's not a gentle return.
No way. Beloved isn't some comforting presence. She becomes more and more demanding, manipulative, ultimately just consuming. She starts draining Sethe and Denver emotionally at first, then psychologically, and then physically. It takes this massive, escalating toll, threatening to just swallow them whole.
And through her, Morrison digs so deep, almost agonizingly deep, into the psychological weight of slavery, especially its devastating impact on motherhood for enslaved women.
Yeah, that theme becomes central here.
For women like Sethe, the very ability to be a mother, to protect, nurture, raise your kids with any kind of autonomy, was constantly brutally undermined by the system.
Because children were property.
Exactly. They weren't seen as human beings with rights, but as assets. Future labor, future capital, subject to being sold, separated, torn away at any moment. Beloved's presence forces Sethe right back into confronting those impossible choices she made under that horrific pressure.
The weight of that past.
The overwhelming, crushing weight. It's this raw look at a mother's fierce, desperate love pushed to its absolute breaking point and the devastating consequences.
And this part of the story, it has roots in actual history, doesn't it?
It does. Deep, tragic roots. Morrison was profoundly inspired by the true story of Margaret Garner.
Margaret Garner. Tell us about her.
Margaret Garner was an enslaved woman who escaped with her husband and children from Kentucky to Ohio in 1856. But when the slave catchers caught up to them, cornered them, Margaret made this horrific, desperate choice.
What did she do?
She killed her own 2-year-old daughter and tried to kill her other children, spare them from being returned to slavery.
Oh my God.
She apparently said she would rather see them dead than go back to that life. The thought of her children enduring what she had endured, it was unbearable to her.
That's unimaginable.
It is. Morrison took that real, agonizing event and gave it this profound literary life, amplifying the impossible, desperate choices forced onto enslaved mothers. And you have to understand, 19th century America, especially under slavery, saw black women as chattel, property.
No rights as mothers.
No maternal autonomy whatsoever. Their children weren't legally theirs. They could be bought, sold, taken away without warning. Morrison hammers this dehumanizing reality home through Sethe's story and through Beloved, who embodies that ultimate loss and the agonizing act it provoked. It's just a stark reminder of the deep systemic cruelty slavery inflicted on the most basic human bonds.
And the writing itself changes when Beloved is around, doesn't it? The narration.
It absolutely does. It shifts, subtly at first, but powerfully. The language becomes more ethereal, almost hypnotic.
Yeah, like dreamlike.
Dreamlike, fluid, almost like an incantation sometimes. It perfectly mirrors Beloved's otherworldly, not quite solid presence and her growing influence. Morrison makes her haunting dominance over Sethe and Denver feel incredibly real, palpable for us as listeners.
You feel her psychological grip.
You really do. You feel how she just seems to suck the air out of the room, casting this spell of dependency, need, and fear over everyone. It's a brilliant use of language to actually conjure the supernatural, to make you feel it.
And what's really key here is how ambiguous Morrison keeps Beloved.
Oh, absolutely central. It's intentionally ambiguous. The novel forces you to keep questioning, grappling with what or who she actually is.
Is she really the ghost? The baby come back?
Or is she a symbol? Is she the embodiment of all the collective trauma, all the disremembered and unaccounted for, as the dedication says, the millions lost to slavery, demanding to be remembered?
Or maybe both somehow.
Or maybe both. A physical manifestation of a psychological reality, a national wound made flesh. And that ambiguity isn't a flaw, it's a massive strength of the novel. It forces you, the listener, to actively engage, to think critically about her meaning, about what she represents regarding history, memory, trauma, healing.
It keeps you hooked.
Totally. The narrative builds that tension so slowly, so deliberately. Beloved's true nature, her intentions, they reveal themselves piece by terrifying piece as she consumes the lives around her. It's excruciating but captivating.
Okay, let's dig into that metaphor aspect. Beloved isn't just a character, right? She's this incredibly powerful, complex symbol. How does Morrison use her to represent not just Sethe's personal trauma, but that collective trauma? The trauma of the whole institution of slavery, the legacy it left on a nation.
Yeah, she's so much more than just Sethe's baby returned. She embodies, well, everything that was silenced. The screams, the lost generations, the stolen childhoods, the millions who died unmourned under that brutal system.
She is the past refusing to stay buried.
Exactly. The past insisting on being seen, being heard, being acknowledged, not ignored or explained away.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, what does Beloved challenge us to think about today?
Well, she forces us to consider how that kind of unaddressed historical pain, especially something as foundational and systemic as slavery, can manifest in these insidious consuming ways, even now.
It's not just over and done with.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not just a wound from the past that heals neatly with time or new laws. Morrison presents it as this living entity that can devour the present if it's not acknowledged, grieved, and actively consciously worked through.
So it shapes things now.
Absolutely. Beloved forces us to confront how historical injustices continue to shape modern identities, social structures, community wounds. She's like a mirror held up, showing how a nation, too, can be haunted by its own unspoken, unaddressed history, and how that past can erupt in destructive ways until it's truly faced.
It makes you think, what happens when trauma, whether it's personal or societal, just isn't dealt with? What does that do to a family, a community?
Right.
What stands out to you when you consider how unresolved pain can fester and manifest? It's a question that really resonates beyond the book, doesn't it? Makes us look at the legacies of pain in our own world, our own communities, and the absolute necessity of confronting difficult truths.
It really does. It's profoundly relevant.
Okay, again, if you're finding these insights valuable, please do show some support, like, subscribe, share. Stay with us, because the story of 124 Bluestone Road, it's definitely not over yet. Things are heading towards a breaking point.
The tension is ratcheting up.
Okay, so as Beloved's presence at 124 continues, her influence it escalates. It gets more demanding, more insatiable. Frankly, it gets terrifying.
She's consuming Sethe.
Totally. You see Sethe visibly draining. Beloved is consuming her, not just emotionally anymore, but physically, threatening to just suck the life right out of her. Sethe becomes almost like a ghost herself, lost in Beloved's overwhelming needs, trapped in reliving her past over and over.
It's a horrifying decline.
It really is. And here's where it gets really interesting. Denver. Sethe's daughter, who's lived her whole life in this profound isolation inside 124, afraid of the outside world.
Yeah, she finally acts.
She finally recognizes the crisis. She sees her mother literally wasting away, fading right before her eyes, and she understands with this sudden, desperate clarity that she can't face this thing alone.
A huge moment for her.
Massive. She has to overcome years of fear, years of isolation, and finally, bravely do the one thing she's avoided: reach out.
Yeah.
Seek help from the Black community outside their door.
That step is critical.
It's a huge turning point, not just for the family, but for the whole story, I think.
Absolutely. And this section really drives home Morrison's exploration of the power of collective healing, how it acts as this vital counterpoint to individual suffering.
Community is medicine.
In a way, yes. She shows how trauma, like Sethe's, the legacy of slavery, it can absolutely fracture individuals, isolate them, nearly destroy them. But right at that point of extreme vulnerability, it can also spark incredible resilience. And, crucially, this undeniable call for communal support.
Because some things are too big to carry alone.
Exactly. Morrison seems to argue that some wounds, especially wounds as vast and deep as slavery's trauma, are just too immense for one person or even one small family to bear by themselves. Healing in this context isn't a solo act. It requires the community to embrace, to intervene.
And this connects to the historical reality for Black communities then, right?
Absolutely. This brings us right back to that vital historical context of post-slavery America. After emancipation, formerly enslaved people faced enormous systemic challenges, building new lives in a hostile society. It was incredibly difficult.
So communities became crucial.
Essential. Absolutely essential. These communities, often centered around newly formed Black churches, mutual aid societies, benevolent organizations, they became lifelines.
What kind of support do they offer?
Everything, really. Spiritual guidance, emotional comfort, yes, but also practical help. Finding housing, setting up schools, economic cooperation like sharecropping together or collective farming, and critically, protection against white supremacist violence, which was rampant.
So these weren't just social clubs.
Oh, no. They were fundamental support systems.
Yeah.
Morrison draws heavily on this history. She shows how these communities offered a collective strength that was the polar opposite of the enforced isolation of slavery, where families and bonds were constantly broken.
Strength and solidarity.
Precisely. This part of the novel really emphasizes that strength found in solidarity, in shared experience, in mutual support. It reflects how real Black communities struggled to build a new world, forge collective identity and purpose out of the ashes of slavery.
And Morrison's writing captures that shift, doesn't it? The rising chaos in 124, Denver's decision.
Yeah, the narration becomes really dynamic here. You feel the urgency building in Denver, her desperation, but also her growing courage. And at the same time, you feel Beloved's chilling dominance intensifying, tightening her grip on Sethe.
We see it through Denver's eyes more.
Yeah, the perspective shifts subtly, letting us experience the crisis through Denver's fear, transforming into this fierce, protective love for her mother. It's her journey from being passive, isolated, to becoming an active agent, reaching out.
Taking action.
Exactly. Morrison lets us piece together that emotional puzzle, the family's decline, Denver's internal struggle, her desperate decision to break the silence, to step outside. The rhythm of the novel speeds up here, feels more urgent, more propulsive.
Like it's building to something big.
Building to that confrontation, that necessary breaking point where the past, embodied by Beloved, has to be faced not just by Sethe, but by the community stepping in to reclaim one of their own.
Okay, let's unpack that idea of community as a counterforce. How does Morrison portray it here? It seems critical, not just helpful.
It's absolutely critical. It's presented as the antidote to the isolation that trauma breeds, especially the trauma of slavery, which was designed to isolate and break people.
So what happens when people are left alone with that kind of pain?
Morrison vividly shows that isolation, itself a brutal legacy of slavery, is incredibly dangerous, often fatal, spiritually if not physically. Beloved's consumption of Sethe shows what happens in isolation.
And the community intervention shows the alternative.
Exactly. This raises that important question. What happens when individuals battle overwhelming trauma alone versus when a community rallies? Morrison suggests the latter is essential for survival and healing.
Does this have parallels today?
Absolutely. Think about collective action, mutual aid networks, especially within marginalized communities today that continue to face systemic challenges, historical injustices, communal support, people showing up for each other, collective empathy, intervention. It remains vital for resilience, for healing.
It's about refusing to let people face things alone.
Precisely. It's a powerful testament to the human drive to build bonds, to forge community, even when everything tries to tear you apart, and to collectively confront the ghosts of the past together.
It makes you think about times you've seen a community rally, maybe after a disaster or for someone going through a crisis. What stands out to you about that collective power, that sense of shared responsibility, people just showing up? It's a potent reminder, isn't it? We aren't meant to face our deepest wounds alone. Healing often starts when we feel seen, held, supported by others.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
Okay, one more time. If this discussion is sparking new thoughts about Beloved, please do like, subscribe, and share. It really does help us continue making these deep dives into literature and history that matter.
Your support means a lot. We're heading into the final stretch now.
All right, so now we arrive at the climax, this incredibly powerful, deeply symbolic moment when the community finally actively intervenes at 124.
The women gather.
Yes, the women of the community, led, in a way, by Stamp Paid's conscience and maybe the lingering spirit of baby Sug's love. They gather, drawn by Denver's plea, by this deep collective sense of duty, of shared history. They march towards 124.
A powerful image.
So powerful, the silent, determined procession of Black women. And then their voices rise together in song, in prayer, confronting Beloved directly. And in doing that, they force Sethe to finally face her past head-on. That unspeakable act that has haunted her, defined her life for 18 years.
Like an exorcism.
It is. But not just of a ghost, right? It feels like an exorcism of this deep generational trauma, a collective intervention to pull a soul back from the past's relentless grip. What truly intensifies the narrative here is just the overwhelming power of that collective action.
It's a communal reclaiming, but what's so fascinating and so Morrison is that even here, in this moment of resolution, she refuses to give us a neat, tidy ending, doesn't she?
Not at all. It's left open-ended.
Deliberately so. Because she understands, I think, that healing from trauma, this deep, this systemic, especially the legacy of slavery, it's rarely complete. It's not like you just tie it up with a bow and it's done.
It's not about forgetting.
No, it's not about erasure or forgetting. It's about transformation, finding a way to carry the past differently. So while Beloved's physical presence seems to recede, vanish even, the echoes of her, the memories she embodied, they linger, don't they?
Yeah, you feel that.
This nuanced ending really underscores that healing is possible, it's transformative, but it's an ongoing imperfect process. And the themes that really come through here are the enduring power of memory, how complex it is.
And forgiveness.
Yes, that incredibly hard journey of forgiveness. Sethe, forgiving herself, maybe, And also this reclaiming of agency. Sethe and Denver start to reclaim their lives, their
Because they
futures.
find a way forward.
They find a way forward, not by erasing the past, but by somehow integrating its pain, its lessons, into a future they can finally start to claim as their own, hopefully free from that constant active haunting.
And this period after the climax connects to the historical context of the time too, right? The post-Reconstruction era.
Yes, absolutely. It's important context. The Civil War is over. Slavery is abolished by the 13th Amendment. But the period after Reconstruction, roughly from 1877 onwards, it saw a devastating backlash.
Things got worse in some ways.
In many ways, yes. A terrifying increase in racial violence. Lynchings became horrifically common, a tool of terror. Jim Crow laws started taking root, enforcing segregation, stripping away voting rights. There was this brutal, concerted effort to undo the gains of Reconstruction and reassert white supremacy.
A really grim time.
Incredibly grim. But, and this is crucial, Morrison also reflects the amazing resilience of Black communities during this exact period. Despite everything, the violence, the oppression, the economic hardship, they persisted.
How?
They kept building their own institutions, independent schools for their children, strong churches. There were spiritual, social, and political centers, mutual aid societies providing essential support. They fought for self-determination.
So Sethe's personal struggle mirrors that larger fight.
Beautifully. Her fight to reclaim her mind, her body, her future, her story. It mirrors that larger ongoing struggle of a whole people striving to define themselves, to build lives of meaning and dignity beyond the shackles of the past and the continuing oppression of the present.
And the tone of the writing changes again here, doesn't it, in the final section?
It does. It softens subtly. It becomes less about the immediate terror, more contemplative. Hopeful, maybe, but definitely bittersweet.
Yeah, bittersweet is a good word.
It underscores Morrison's nuanced view. She knows some wounds never fully close, but maybe they can be carried differently, integrated rather than consuming. You feel the characters can finally breathe a little, but there's also this quiet acknowledgement that the past, even when it's disremembered, is never truly gone.
You feel the weight of what they've lived through.
Exactly, and Morrison uses those subtle shifts in tone and pacing to let us feel the full weight of Sethe's journey and also to embrace the complex, lingering questions the novel deliberately leaves open.
It makes you sit with the ambiguity.
Yes, it forces you to engage with the messiness of trauma and healing on a deeper level. The pacing invites you to reflect, ensuring the story and its implications stay with you long after you finish. It asks us to live with the unanswered questions because life itself is often like that.
So let's unpack that ambiguity. Morrison famously avoids easy answers, avoids that neat ending. Why do that? What's the power in refusing simple closure?
Well, maybe because a neat, clean ending would feel like a betrayal, right? A betrayal of the harrowing reality she's depicting. The reality of the trauma and the ongoing struggle.
You wouldn't feel true.
It wouldn't feel true. And this raises that important question for all of us. What kind of freedom is actually possible when the past can never be fully forgotten, only maybe disremembered?
What does Morrison suggest?
Maybe the true freedom isn't about erasing the past, which is impossible anyway. It's about finding a way to live with it, to integrate it, to stop it from consuming the present, the future, the next generation. She really encourages us as listeners to form our own interpretations about Beloved's fate, about Sethe's future.
The conversation continues.
Exactly. The enduring strength of this novel is its ongoing relevance. The vital, uncomfortable, but necessary conversations it sparks about history, memory, identity, healing, not just for the characters, but for us.
It makes you think about what real healing looks like. In your own life, maybe, or in society. Is it about forgetting, erasing? Or is it about finding a way to carry things differently, to integrate the wounds without letting them define you completely? What stands out to you about that journey? It's such a deep, personal, universal question that Beloved makes us confront.
With honesty and courage, hopefully.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Beloved, please, one last time, if this has resonated, make sure you like this deep dive, subscribe to BookPodCastZone for more discussions like this, and share it with fellow book lovers, history buffs, anyone who appreciates complex stories.
Yeah, your engagement really does fuel this work and helps keep these important conversations going. #tashtag outro. You know, if we try to connect all this to the bigger picture, Beloved isn't just a historical novel about a specific dark chapter of American history, is it?
No, it feels much bigger than that.
It's this profound, really universal meditation on memory itself, how memory shapes us, how it can imprison us, and how sometimes confronting it, wrestling with it, is the only incredibly difficult path towards true liberation.
Yeah.
It reminds us that collective memory is this powerful, living force. It can haunt us, absolutely. But maybe, through facing it, it can also eventually help us heal.
Exactly. Morrison invites us, maybe even challenges us, to sit with discomfort, to look squarely at the unspeakable truths of our past, personal and collective. And also, crucially, to recognize the incredible resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable pain and cruelty.
She doesn't offer easy comfort.
No, she definitely doesn't let us off the hook easily. But she offers this profound, challenging truth about survival, about the power of connection, and about the possibility of moving forward, however scarred we might be. So, for you, our listener, maybe here's a final thought to carry with you. If memory is like a landscape, a vast, intricate terrain, what parts of your own personal or collective history are you still navigating, still trying to rememory into understanding, into peace?
A powerful question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this profound and, yeah, often challenging journey through Toni Morrison's Beloved. It's truly been an honor to unpack this incredible work with you.
Yes, our deepest thanks for diving in with us on this essential exploration. Keep exploring these stories, keep asking the hard questions, and above all, keep reading. The stories that haunt us the most often hold the keys to our deepest understanding.
And sometimes our most profound liberation.